Hi and welcome to My Ordinary Life, the podcast which offers you a rare invitation to hear life from a different perspective. I'm your host, Gillian Allen, and each episode I'll be having conversations with some fascinating people who have one thing in common. They all have a learning disability. We'll be hearing about the joys, the challenges, and trying to answer the question, what part can I play in everyone having an ordinary life? Hi and welcome to My Ordinary Life. I'm your host, Gillian Allen, and I have Michael here with me today.
Hi.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm actually all right, Liam.
Oh, good. Thank you for joining us, and I am really looking forward to hearing a bit about your story, because I know that over the last few years you've been on quite a journey.
I have.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
I think it's probably all started from when I was into a mental health hospital.
Right.
And I was there for 4 years.
Right. And did they move you because they were worried about your mental health?
In my head, dumped the back that I was like diagnosed with autism, so they might move me to a much more secure place for that reason.
And what was the hospital like?
Oh, a lot better. There's OT therapy, there's like a art and craft day centre built inside the hospital. You can do daytime activity. There was a fun day. They have like event in the hub where you can play pool and all that, or you can even do art and craft on the wall or even like that. And sometimes every month you would get like a monthly like hours and to visit the community, whether that be like the town educator or even doctor and all that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty glad I went to hospital.
So with you having to stay there, could you leave the hospital? Were you free to leave, or were you quite restricted?
Obviously, eventually for the third year, I think I went for Christmas. I went over to my nana.
Oh, right.
And then I would date a mum one trip, obviously to Clara team. I could start going more out, like to my mum and shop and all that.
Yeah. And did you have to stay in the hospital though? Were you under a section?
Yeah.
Right. So how were you feeling when you were in there? Because it sounds like if you were there under a section, it must have been a really tough time.
Yeah, but there were some good and bad days every now and then. Sometimes I would have a good day, and then obviously I was on medication at that point, so that was helping a bit.
Was it?
Yeah.
Do you feel they got the balance of that right?
Yeah.
That must have been a really hard bit of your life.
Yeah.
And yet now your life's really different. So what then happened?
I got more engagement. When I was going over to the activity centre in hospital, I thought to chat more with some of the people there, and that thought create me more social, made more connected. I thought it's joking about, and maybe all I was missing before hospital was just like someone to chat to, and I was a bit lonely.
Right.
But I guess maybe the transformation was when I started to open up and talk more to others.
Did you feel you were quite isolated?
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
I don't. Maybe just didn't have a good do life and all that, but I did. Yeah, I did well, but I felt I was more isolated and all that. But that side of me is over now, and I'm just Mr. Jobby now. Yeah.
And I love the fact that I think it's really interesting what you've said about how when you were in the hospital, actually, the more you were engaging with people, the more you were connecting with people, the better you felt. Yeah. So at some point, in order for you to leave the hospital, what happens? How does that process work?
I think obviously they would have like annual reviews.
Uh-huh.
Oh, actually, there is something that was a session in hospital. I remember one day I was told by like the doctor that my nana died.
Oh no.
So I thought I had if I could go for the funeral, and thought I did. Thought obviously we got like went up in the day, I went with two that. Obviously one of them was up the wall and think she couldn't drive. They had to take another driver. So went to the funeral, attended the service, went back to my nan, brought them like a buffet, and then we came back to the hospital.
Right, and that must have been difficult.
And then when I was hospital, I was like working in a shop inside the hospital.
Oh, right.
It's like a tuck shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that for the staff or for the patients or both?
Yeah, Bible.
Oh, right.
Oh, they were quite different to a normal tuck shop. Because it's the only shop inside the hospital. They had to sell like toiletries and all that.
Oh, yes, sort of everything that someone would need.
Yeah, because some people may not have leave to go outside the barrier.
Right.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
They even sold like lighter and radar, but what I was told by, obviously it wasn't me in the shop, it was one of the hospital staff too. Like there was a few people volunteering. There was normally one patient and one staff, and I was told that when I started in there, if any of the patients wanted the radar or a lighter, you take the money, but you give the radar or lighter to staff in case they they've gotten harm and harm to others.
Because I hadn't thought about it, but as you say, if people aren't allowed to leave the hospital, they've got to be able to get everything they need on site. And did you enjoy that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good to keep busy as well, isn't it? So, after how many years were you in the hospital? Was it 4?
4 years.
Right. The 4 years came to an end and there was a decision made that you were well enough to leave. Does that happen gradually or?
When I was on my way to leave, I think it was a year before I left in 2014 December. We had a big discussion. They had to wait a year to the funding and a space became available. And then I did like a few near the time when maybe a couple of weeks before I was going to move. I did like overnight and day visit and got to know, and all that.
So what was it like? So when you kind of knew that you were going to get to move out, but then you say it took a year to get the funding and stuff.
Funding and all that.
Yeah. How did that feel though?
It felt like, I just wish there was like enough day to do much better.
Yeah. Just sounds frustrating that you.
Yeah. I just I was kept out, I'm gonna leave.
And how did it feel when you finally did?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I bet. So what kind of a place did you move into when you left?
Residential service where I staff there 24 hours, where one staff sleeping. But the one I lived in, there was only 4 bedrooms. And they were quite different. And some of them were most of them didn't live with a house autism. They were all autistic, but they were on the different levels of the spectrum.
Yeah. So when you first moved in there, it must have felt really different to the hospital.
Yeah.
Was that difficult or was that?
It was just like accepting to the fact that if you went up to them, it's not like ending corridor, they're more homely, it's more like, I'm back into dump on my home now. Like, it was more like you had your own bedroom, but the kitchen and the living room and probably the dining room were communal, where if you wanted your own bed, you go to your room.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to come out and chat, then in the lounge.
So you've got the option of both.
Yeah.
So when you got to move out and be in your own home, did that feel more relaxed or?
Felt more independent.
Yeah. I imagine that was a good feeling.
It was.
Yeah. How long were you there for?
5 years.
Wow. And you enjoyed it?
I did. Some of the staff, even if you're in the staff now, he was always out the house and doing things. Because the first month I got there, all I was doing was tactor, which is a bit like activity centre and stuff. They do toilet, but that was mainly for younger people.
Right.
So in the second month, I started to volunteer at the Saudi shop.
Oh, right.
Up to about soon I was volunteering the woman there, but what with them new stuff coming on, I thought I ended there. I was also doing a lot of stuff with Black in the Mat.
Oh, right.
It's like a community centre. They hold market store, they do allotment, they do litter picking group. They do all sorts.
So what did you like to do?
I would, when I first got there, I was in part of the allotment group, which was called Men's Shed. Yeah, I think they're changed the name now to include women now,
right,
so I can't remember what it's called. Or it might be called Soldier Shed. And then I got involved with the e-ranger, with basically just once a week on a Thursday, go around picking up litter.
Oh, great.
And I did that for 3 years.
So it sounds like you've done loads for the community.
Yeah.
In terms of, volunteering work. Yeah. Which is amazing. So you were in a shared house with staff. What kind of setup have you got now?
It's a concierge plus.
Oh, right. So what does that mean?
It's like the staff on ship every night, but they normally clock up at 11, and only after that time they do only the emergency to message them. But yeah, they do a lot of them. You got your own flat with a kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and it's up to you to maintain it. And sometimes you're allowed to decorate it. Obviously, in the housing agreement, you can't be shame the infant sector, though if I went with tiles, I couldn't have tiles because it would shame it.
Right.
But what I tend to get away with that is, those sticky ones.
Oh, yeah.
They just peel up, but no, I start putting them up.
Yeah. So you've gone from hospital to living in a shared home to having your own flat.
Yeah.
And from what you're saying, the staff are there, kind of, you can call them if you need them, but other than that, you're just living in your own flat. So that just sounds amazing. How does it feel? Is it good to just know this is my space?
Yeah, definitely.
I bet. And you were saying you quite like, decorating it, making it?
I painted the living room completely cocoa brown. I done all the decorating. I put all the berm there together, and the only thing I got from my mum and the only thing she put up was a clock in the living room. Right. Apart from that, I did it, Oh,
amazing. And how does it feel to have your own place?
It feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, not long term, because I will be, obviously, when I got a much better job, maybe full time, maybe move out. But at the minute, it suits my needs.
Yeah. So what you're thinking, you might move out from there, and what just
maybe live my own flat or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a few years down the line.
But it's good to have a goal, isn't it? What appeals to you about having your own flat completely?
And just see if I can make it, see if I can have the trust.
Yeah.
Obviously, I won't leave out now because I'm just hoping a full-time job.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And do you think you'll be able to manage in your own flat? Paying your own bills and organising it all?
That's probably what I need to work on when I'm living here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good plan. You could work on those skills so you're ready when you go. Yeah, sounds brilliant. Would you like to tell people a bit about your job? Because I know you do a really important job as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've been employed by originally my employer was a pilot team.
Oh, what's
that was
it?
About to last only a year. So tell me that the team been funded for up to December now.
Ah, brilliant. And what's the name of your job?
Community Connected Supporter.
Community Connected Supporter, right.
I look for opportunities and variety and activities in the local area for LD, learning disability, or autistic people.
So you're linking elderly people, people with disabilities, and autistic people up with what kind of opportunities?
Volunteering opportunities, art and craft, stuff that interests the individual.
Right.
Totally, I got I think, or even we did a bit of travel training and all that. But he was a bit nervous on the buses and getting them on his own. So we came up with a plan, step by step, to get in travel training.
Oh, brilliant. And now does he feel more confident?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. Already there's more work to do. I mean, he's only travel from home to do, though I work on any opportunity, but that individual's long-term goal is to go to town and meet up with his friends on traveling alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he'll get there?
He will. He got confident.
Yeah, that's good. And how does it feel to be now helping somebody to live a good life?
Feel good.
Yeah. But a job like yours, why do you think your job is necessary?
Because there's not many services out there anymore, and there's not many peer supporters with lived experience to help people.
So you think having lived experience makes a difference?
Yeah.
In what way?
So that there's something you can do where, I went through that pain reading. You can move on, you can sleep, you can get a job, and you can live independently.
And you are living proof of it, aren't you? I bet it makes a difference to people when they meet you.
Yeah.
And you can just say, no, I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must make a big difference. So we've heard so much about your life and the many different things that have gone on in it. Do you think life has been different for you as an autistic person who has a learned disability? Has that made a difference?
I think it's definitely been more enlightened.
Right.
And more I think I was into I thought I didn't like the fact of being different because you were always in like a different bubble. Whereas out at school, you were just all the same and marked the same. So maybe school was more accepting and understand that just because you're disabled doesn't mean you want to be in that bubble. You want to be like just the same.
And now that you're not at school and living your life,
yeah, I'm doing that more. I'm more social. I go out some nights. I was out till 11 and all that. I'm chatting with people that I never thought I'd chat to.
Yeah. We do this podcast partly because we want to kind of educate people about how life can be if you're somebody like yourself who's autistic and has a learned disability. Is there anything you think people should know that might make life easier for people who've got any kind of disability?
The only right I would give like people without the families and people without a disability is we're all the same person. We all have the same right, same choice, the right to independent, the right to choose our own future. And to the autistic learning disease, just live your life, no matter, and they're doing out with deaf people who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great advice, actually.
Yeah.
So it's been so nice talking to you today, Michael. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it too.
I have enjoyed it too, Gillian. I look forward to the next meeting.
Oh, great. And thank you for sharing your life with us.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode and are feeling very kind, please rate, review and subscribe, and be sure to tell your family and friends to have a listen too. And if you'd like to share your ordinary life with us, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on social media at Ordinary Life 66. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to catch up with you again soon.